Now, September is Adoption and Foster Care Awareness Month in Trinidad and Tobago. The Children's Authority of TNT is currently promoting kinship foster care as an alternative placement arrangement through traditional foster care. And joining us this morning to learn more about that is foster care team lead Anjulie Tewari De Fague and Children's Services Associate Avian Thompson. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Should I say welcome back then? Welcome back.
Yes.
Thanks, I know you're no
Thanks
stranger to the Now Morning Show. But I'm coming to you first, Anjulie. Tell us about kinship foster care, and you can also ground it in the context of the difference between that and general foster care.
Sure. Actually, I'll go back a little step further and tell you the difference between foster care and adoption. Because a lot of persons mix those two up.
Yes.
And we want to set that ground first.
Of course.
So foster care is temporary. It's a temporary care option where children can be placed with a safe family, a stable home, while the Children's Authority continues to work with their own families in the background. Adoption is permanent. So when a child comes into adoption, that child would stay there permanently and that family would become their own. Parental consent from their birth families is dispensed with. Now we're bringing into the mix kinship foster care. Kinship foster care is where we are giving families, so relatives, a chance to care for their own children who are related to them and giving them that support so we don't have to remove children from their families. Right. So when we talk about family, we're really looking at those sort of immediate persons, whether it's so other than a parent, we're looking at grandparents, step-parents, brother, sister, aunt, uncle. We're looking at those types of persons to step forward, and we want to explore them to see how children can be placed with them before placing them with alternative carers.
Yeah. Now, while we get the fact that it's sort of a relative that's taking over, what are some of the other criteria for this sort of foster care?
So in order, you can be a relative, but you also have to have a safe space for that child. We have to make sure that you are able to care for them as well as care for yourself. We don't want persons doing this just so they can say, I'm taking this child. We have to know that you can meet their needs, their basic needs. So we would come in, that relative would work with the Children's Authority hand in hand. We have to make sure that you can see about their needs and then you're providing a safe home for them.
Yeah. Avian, I'm coming to you. Is this sort of service new?
Well, kinship foster care is not, it's somewhat new where it has been in the legislation, the Community Residences Foster Care and Nurseries Act. But as it is now, we are now formalizing the process. So it's new in terms of the formalization of it, where we are given the opportunity now to really focus on not only traditional foster care, but kinship foster care as well. Because we are, as the authority, the Office of the Prime Minister, we are really trying to move away from deinstitutionalization, as well as the, again, promoting that family environment as the main source of care for children.
Yeah. You mentioned that formalization process. Apart from the obvious, is there a reason that this should be formalized?
Sure, yes, of course. As with any legislation, policies need to be in place. And that policy making took some time, where we really had to make that process concrete, because we need to ensure that when we are going out there like we are now to promote kinship foster care, that we do it the correct way, and we ensure that the persons coming forward, that they are willing and they really have that warm home, that loving home environment, that ability to want to care for their relatives, that they're able to.
Yeah. Anjulie, I'm coming back to you because I want us to understand the type of children who may be placed in this type of situation.
So we're looking at children. So children who come into foster care, they would meet one of our Section 22 concerns. So a child who's at risk of abuse, neglect, and in danger in any way. Those are the types of children who come to the attention of the Children's Authority. And now we are now given that sort of power to explore and support those family members. So children who maybe have a parent who is incarcerated, a parent who is mentally ill, someone in their immediate home is abusing them or exposing them to some sort of domestic violence or sort of illegal activity. We're looking at those children who are really at risk, in danger, and we want to take them out of that dangerous space and put them in a safe space.
In your experience, have you seen the cases brought to the authority by the police service, or do you actually see parents coming and saying, listen, I really can't take care of this child, please help me?
So we get a real good mix. We actually get from the police, we get from families, we get from concerned citizens, calling to say that they're really concerned about this child. They don't know, they see this child wandering on the streets late at night. We get calls from hospitals, we get calls from other sort of agencies, stakeholders that we work with. So definitely we get calls from a wide range of persons, generally people who are concerned about the well-being of children.
Yeah. Avion, based on your experience, have you seen a lot of people buy into this sort of initiative?
I think we really need to put the information out there a lot more as we are now. And I think once the information is out there, persons will buy in more, because we live in a society where auntie, uncle, grandparents, everyone takes care of each other. The village that existed, and we want to really bring back that village. So I think as we bring more awareness to foster care and kinship foster care, I think the buy-in will increase over time.
Yeah. And as someone looking at this program, they may have a relative who they think is in need and they want to put that child in this kinship foster care. Can you walk us through the process? What happens?
Sure, no problem. So in terms of the process, once, for example, if they are aware of a relative in, let's say, a community residence and they are willing to, they can make contact with the authority, the foster care unit. Once that contact is made, the process is more or less initiated, where we make contact with them, we conduct a suitability assessment of their home. We have to look at the physical setting, their financial background, to ensure that they are able to meet their own basic needs first before we follow through with that process. Also applying to the police to get their certificate of character, because we need to ensure that these persons are who they say they are, more or less, and they are and their history, their background is more or less safe for that child. On top of that, they have to have that support as well, because within foster care, traditional foster care, support within other families, even friends as well, that support has to be there. Once they satisfy those basic requirements, we can move ahead in terms of applying for the order and actually placing that child with that relative to eventually, again, move away from the deinstitutionalization.
Yeah. In terms of payment, and I know this might be a very sensitive issue, are these parents paid to house the children?
So I like how you asked the question. We are not paying relatives to house these children. We ensure that financially you are able to meet your own needs, and then we are giving you a stipend towards the needs of the child. So we have to make sure that that stipend is not going to be abused in any way. So, but in addition, I really want to speak about the support offered. It's not just financial support towards the needs of the child. We're actually looking at that wider support. We're really holding your hand through the process.
Yeah.
So we are providing training, we're providing psychosocial support, we are doing monitoring, and we're always there. So kinship foster parent would be paired up with a caseworker, and they would be able to sort of touch base with them, seek advice, guidance on the upbringing of this child, if there are any issues. So we really are creating this team around the child. Yeah.
Well, you made it very clear earlier that the foster care system is different from adoption in that there's that permanency aspect to adoption, whereas it doesn't exist in the foster care system. How long can someone then have this child in this kinship foster care arrangement?
So really, because we said it was temporary can mean a range of things. So temporary can mean a short period while the child's parents gets back on their own 2 feet, or if other family members can really pull together and be able to support this child on their own, because that's the key thing. We want, as an authority, we are working towards reintegrating children where possible, appropriate, and in the best interest. So if a child can be placed back with their birth family, that's ideal. So we are working in the background with those families, sort of seeing how we can get them back to the point where we no longer need to use foster care or kinship foster care, and we can work towards moving them back to their families where possible, appropriate, and in the best interest of the child.
Now, I know that every case is different, but have you seen examples, let's say 6 months versus 2 years, or even shorter or longer?
So we've actually only just formalized kinship foster care. We've recently approved actually about 9 kinship foster parents. So we're in that process of formalizing things. So we shall see. It's really kind of going to be case by case, dependent on the family and how successful they are in moving towards that end goal.
Yeah. And I mean, have you, so it is new, but you mentioned the sort of support and that kind of thing. Apart from the child returning to their original family, what are sort of the other benefits of this type of system? I'm coming to you, Avian.
Sure. As we would have stated, the family setting is ideal.
Yeah.
As we know, in community residences, it's a lot of children within one setting. And we know that the benefits, every child would want that knowledge, that hope, knowing that their family wants them, their mother, their father, knowing that they were willing to put in the work to realize, you know what, I made a mistake and I'm willing to work. And the authority is here to help help those parents, those families along that process. And in working with the family, the child, that sense of belonging, that sense of attachment is more or less fulfilled. And that continuous work is, again, it's followed through from beginning to, and I wouldn't really say end, but more or less continue on to the future of the child.
Anjulie, I'm coming back to you. I know it's new, I understand that, but is there going to be some sort of database where you can track the information that you're getting to see how well the program is working?
Absolutely. So as I said, once a kinship foster parent or a traditional foster parent joins the system, they join a register of our foster parents.
Yeah.
And we also have our systems where we actually track the progress of a child, if they're meeting their developmental needs, if they're having their educational needs met, their medical needs met. So we can see progress, and we are also working in the backgrounds with their families. A lot of the times we do have to go to the court and give court reports and status updates of the child's progress, of the family's progress. And a lot of the time the court makes that final decision whether the child stays in foster care a while longer or moves back to their family. So it really is, it's not just because we feel so. You know, it's up to the court, it's really us working together. So it's not somebody going to court and saying, oh, they didn't help me, because we would actually have, you know, records showing we made these amount of attempts to try these things.
Yeah.
So it really is a very tight process and formalized process.
Of course. You mentioned the stakeholders before. Tell us about some of the stakeholders you work with.
So we work quite closely with persons like agencies such as National Family Services, Childline, a lot of these agencies that work with children and families. We work closely with the police, with the hospitals, we work closely with the court as well. So all of these stakeholders are going to be involved with these families at some point. And so we need to work closely with them to get the information to make sure we are doing what's best for the child.
Yeah. You mentioned the support, and I like that, but is there going to be a reintegration process for the child? When is their time to return to their original families?
So the moment a child comes into foster care, we are working on reintegration where possible. And then when the moment comes where we can successfully move forward, there is a process. Right. We are preparing that child for that movement. We're preparing the foster parent for that movement as well. We're preparing the families. We're making sure we're going into the homes, making sure everything is set. Even after the child is placed back with their birth families, we do checks. We also assign a caseworker as well to make sure that it's a smooth transition. So we really aren't just hoping for the best. We are sort of there all through the way.
Yeah, and I asked that question because I would imagine sometimes as a relative taking care of a child, there's a bond that you create, and it's going to be difficult now to give this child back to their birth parents. And so I'm hoping that there's some support for that family as well.
Absolutely, and
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that pops up in traditional
yes.
foster care as well, that
yes.
attachment. And attachment is okay. People get scared about this attachment. We say goodbye in different aspects of our life all the time. So I feel we support persons, we give them training towards this process.
Yeah.
So absolutely, saying goodbye, yes, it's going to be hard, but we will support you through the way.
Of course. Well, Anjulie, before you go, just tell us the contact numbers to get to the Children's Authority, sure. And in particular, this particular service.
So if you are interested in kinship foster care, you can give us a call on 627-0748, extension 40988, or you can email us at fostercare@ttchildren.org.
Nice. Anjulie, Avian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All the best with the new system, and we're looking forward to that formalization. So thank you so much. And that, of course, was Miss Anjulie Tewari De Fague, the foster care team lead, and also Miss Avian Thompson, Children's Services Associate at the Children's Authority, just sharing some information on how you can be a part of the Kinship Foster Care Initiative. Remember, those numbers again is 627-0748, extension 40988. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.